I think I think the plane quit flying. It stalled and he went down.
Basically, it's what you call a flame out.
Yeah.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
to go up there and the motor's off, and it boom, go puff,
Right,
and that's
it
it.
can't fly anymore. It just goes
And the
down.
tough thing of it is, when you go off the front of an aircraft carrier, they can't stop. So they're gonna run right over you to start with in there.
Dan, do you need
know.
any official papers on any of this?
Yeah.
I'll take anything that you'll give me, you know,
Well,
I just
can-
need copies, that's all
Well,
I
I do,
need.
I can make
PAPHA would
copies.
like them, and we'd prefer to scan the originals. The museum.
Okay, I went into the museum last week.
But
talking
we'd like
about-
to scan the originals and not, you know, so we get a really good scan.
Better than I could. Okay. Well,
Permanent
Mark,
record.
I just make it a point to get a few things together and send them to you.
Or I'll stop by and pick them up.
Okay.
Talking about a while ago about how Johnny Martin and Mackie were always together. Here's a picture of both of them in 1936.
Yeah,
The
no.
kids on the back porch, and Johnny Martin's right in there with Mackie.
Always, the 4 boys and Nona.
The little girl is Nona.
Quarterantis oleander.
And a Puerto Rican Oleander.
Yeah.
Flowers, that
You
Mama
guys
stuff.
have these?
I just scanned.
You just-
Oh, you did, great, okay, well,
I
we'll
will
get back.
have to sit down with him, or I'll
See
get
that,
Claire
right?
to sit down with him.
He wants to see this.
See, those are the kind of
Fair
pictures
will do
we
it.
lost in that fire.
Yeah.
Do y'all think,
Yeah.
I'd love to, I'm hoping that y'all might be able to work that thing out with the letters, the scans of the letters in the next 2 weeks maybe?
Oh, I do it right away.
Okay, that would be great
I'll
because,
tell you when they're ready, you can come pick them up.
okay.
First guy comes over there, water district truck in front of my house.
Oh, I think we do that.
No, I'm fixing.
Unless you're watering on the wrong day.
Oh, yeah, and I've been known to do that. Let's see, there was something else I was gonna tell you about this. Mother kept all of his stuff for an ungodly amount of time in her closet in her bedroom. And it haunted me that she did that, because she couldn't come above it. She couldn't get over it. And, but I know she was on drugs for a while that I didn't have any notion. Dr. Sharp, do you remember the name?
Sure.
Okay, the old Dr. Sharp. Okay, that's who took care of her then. And it wasn't until they moved from their house in whatever year that was and moved to Aransas Pass, they were disposed of.
The, what was
Uniforms,
Oh,
and I took buttons, and I took this, don't step on this, right at your heel. Right there, my little wings. And it's just ironic what we have from both boys is not a lot. Here I'm going to both boys is not a lot, but you can't hold on to this kind of stuff forever and ever and ever, and your kids never knew them. None of our children.
right,
See,
right.
it's just all, who was Mackie?
right.
You know, I mean, even though they know it's my brother, they don't know.
That is the way it works.
I know it is, but it hurts
If
sometimes.
you're lucky, one person in the family will say, yeah, I'll take it.
Yeah, I
and
know,
I'll do
but they
something with
don't.
it.
Now Trent and Toots are more into it than my children,
Mm-hmm.
because they live here, and the family's here, you know, and they have a
Right.
lot of family stuff, but mine are away. And they love the island, but they've just outgrown it, I guess you might say. I'm not saying anything against it, but
Yeah. It's not for everybody.
Their life is not here anymore.
no, it's not. It's my life. And
I'm-
oh, I wanted to tell you one thing about him that you'll appreciate, and it doesn't have to be in there.
Okay.
The college that he went to, very well known. Boy, do you remember the Phantom?
Yep.
Oh my God! Oh my God!
I think Mackie Ward mentioned this to me, but
Did
go
he?
ahead.
Okay, now this is when Marcy and Mackie were in school. I wasn't there yet. In fact, I came after he left, okay? But those girls really liked that boy. And he wasn't a football player, he wasn't a basketball player, he wasn't anything, just Mackie in school. And he didn't date anybody very long, just dates, and he would tell them, if you have the money, you can go with me, but it's Dutch. He just wasn't into that. So anyway, he was well liked at school, and he got some smoke bombs. Hell, I don't know where from. I have no idea. But he would tie a tag on it, the Phantom Strikes, and at nighttime he would roll them down the female dorm floor, you know, hallway. And it was going off.
Big joker.
Oh my goodness. And they came out of the woodwork, and the fire department and everything else came out of the woodworks. And this went on for a time. that he did this, and no one ever knew who the Phantom was.
He was the Phantom.
He was a fan of
He did things that could get you in trouble, but he
Oh,
never
sure.
hurt anything. He never hurt anybody, did he?
No, and
Yeah,
another
sounds
thing
like
he
he's
did was
good-natured.
he was always trying to play pranks on the authorities down in Kingsville, and anyhow he knew where they went for enchiladas at 1 o'clock every night, and it had these parking things, you know, to keep you from running into the building. And so the police down in Kingsville at that time were all driving Studebakers. And so anyway,
Wow.
they had their Studebakers backed up against these braces there. And so he decided, he bought himself a chain. And while they were in there drinking coffee, he wrapped the chain around one of these posts and put a lock on it, and then wrapped it, and gave it about 20 feet of running space, and locked it around the axle of the cop car. And then he got out in his mama's big 98 Oldsmobile, went beep, 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 beep. And finally the cops hit the front door, and he gave them the sign. And they jumped in the car and took off and pulled the rear wheels out from under the car.
Oh, now that was dangerous, very. I didn't hear that.
And that was
this
when
way.
he was playing the Phantom.
It was?
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
So he chained one of the police officers' cars,
Yeah.
Studebaker, to like a piling, a post out in front of the
That's right,
restaurant.
yeah.
And how did he lure him out?
Just sit out there and would put the car that he was in gear.
Revving the motor up and-
Revving it and spinning out
Squealing.
Spinning the wheels forward and backwards till he got him out there.
a little
They jumped in
distance
the
off,
car.
and then they come out there and take off. And
And
they
took
actually
off.
pulled the rear wheels off?
Yeah.
Wow.
No
one hurt, I hope.
Did you
No.
see this?
No, he told me
I don't
that.
believe it.
He told me that.
I wouldn't believe that about
He told the story
He
of
told
that.
the story.
Well,
And
a guy who would buzz everybody like that and everything, it rings true,
It
doesn't
started young.
Yeah.
You know our theater here,
it? What, oh, the
our
old,
open theater?
yeah.
Oh, my God.
Oh, no. I got a Fort Theater
He
story.
put,
Well, we got a few
a
Fort
repeater.
Theater stories, don't we?
was it a repeater bomb that went off, kerplum, and then would go up and go kerboom up in this.
What, he would toss a little bomb
No.
over
It was an
No.
open bar
Fireworks.
theater. and
You're
you
in
put
a
yeah.
like
real
match in
serious
it.
movie. Everybody's
Yeah.
watching the screen, and he goes back there and puts this little thing down, and he sits down, you know, 2 or 3 things from it, and that thing went off.
the? What is it? Oh, fireworks.
Fire-
Some
Firework?
kind of a firework
Yeah.
that went up
Like
into
a-
the sky.
Is this a one-time thing?
Emptied
Skyrocket or
the
something like
theater.
It what?
Emptied the theater.
Was this a one-time thing, or did he do that more than
No,
once?
just once.
Just once.
It sounded like he liked a little theater himself.
Yes.
This time that he ran the constable off the road, he said that Mr. Henry caught him a couple of days later and shook his finger in his face and
really?
said, "You little so-and-so, if I could prove it, you'd never fly again. But I know who you." And Mackie said, "What?
He ain't proved nothing, dude.
Because he had a way of doing this. Remember,
Hey,
he's like, "What?
y'all,
What are you talking
just
about?"
briefly, tell us something about Henry Olson.
Oh,
You know,
love
just
him
brief.
to
First of
death.
all,
Just
like
brief.
Henry needed to prove it.
Yeah.
No, just-
or Mr. Gibbs,
Right.
anybody.
What was he like?
yeah.
Everybody said they liked him a lot.
Oh,
Who, Henry?
yes.
They
He
loved
was
him.
our
Him and they
guardian.
did a lot of things.
He was our guardian.
Yeah, he had dances at his house for us, and
Always there, no matter what we
would
had.
haul us back and forth home if we need to ride from his.
Henry Olson was the best lawman we ever had here in Port Aransas.
But he meant business.
He
We
meant
sure
business,
he did.
but
Drag
Henry
you
had a-
home if he needed to,
Henry
but you
had
go
a big
home.
belly and a pocket full of change, and I saw him one time bust up a fight on the flats right in front of and he said, "Excuse me," and he stood on the front porch of the Hangout Cafe, and the fight was going on across the street, and he grabbed his change, his keys and stuff in his hand, and he stood up on his toes, and he ran across the street and went whoop, and knocked him for a loop. And he got hold of one of them and sat on him, and told his deputy, go get the whatever it was they hauled him in. He held the other in his hand, and wouldn't let him move. And so anyhow, the deputy went and got the paddy wagon or whatever it was, and they put him in there and hauled him off to the one-room jailhouse we had.
I don't know if he ever caught y'all, but he probably had a lot of, he caught me one night we were out playing car chase, all of us, which we did every night we got in the car. We'd hide in the Gibbs courts, we would hide at the waterfront somewhere, and we were chasing one another around town. Turn our lights off and hide behind something until they drove up behind you and turned their lights on. That was just a fun thing for us to do because we had nothing else to do. There wasn't a theater here
Make it
then,
up, yeah.
nothing. And he got me that night. He came to my house. I mean, I went home and I knew he recognized the car. I went home fast, and he came and knocked on the door. Mom went to the door and he said, "Miss Dode, is your daughter here?" "Yeah, right there." "Well, I need to tell you what she's doing." It was you too, I know. 'Cause we got in trouble, but we didn't get in.
Well, when I come out of service, me and Henry and there was real good friends. But he got me one day, and I was sitting there at the old pool hall, where Shorty's is now, you know, and there, the old one before it went down in the storm. And he deputized me. "You come go with me, boy." He said, "We got 2 guys in there we need to take care of."
Now, Johnny Martin was capable of doing this too, I
Yeah.
guarantee you.
So
He saved
I
my
went
family
with
a
him,
lot of
and
times.
sure enough, he had these 2 shrimpers. And we got them in there. And Henry told his 2 shrimpers in there, he said, "Now listen, I don't want to have to put you in that jail in there and then have to sit up all night guarding you in there until court tomorrow." He said, "If I let y'all go, you promise you'll get on that boat and you'll get on back to Randall's Pass and not give us any more trouble." I said, "Yes, sir, we sure will." So we escorted them down to the boat. They got aboard and they went on to Randall's Pass. Later on, I get married to this girl named Harley Mae Olson. Well, this one little guy, he was shorter than I was, not near as heavy as I was back then. He was telling me the story about him and his brother-in-law being in Port Aransas. And he knew Henry Olson in there after that, you know. And this constable over there named Henry Olson, he said, he got some young punk. He said, come gathered us up in there, and they put us back on the boat, and they run us out to Port Aransas back to Randy's Pass. And I'm sitting there, and I said, "Oh, God." Well, turns out that was my father-in-law, his brother-in-law.
Oh, my gosh. Now, I knew Billy Ray was younger than she, but that wasn't him, it was Dad. That's
That's a
funny.
good one.
We were, Bill Olson and I were taking a ride past the, whatever this, restaurant and bar was out there on the Cutoff Road. That used Tarpon Club, I think they called it.
Oh, yeah, White Marlin.
White Marlin. Anyhow, so we got in a discussion with some kids from San Antonio and ended up out there with our arms around each other's neck, wrestling around. And here come Henry up, honked his horn at us, and we all stood up and says, you know, "Who wants to go to jail?" "Nobody." "Then I better not see any fights out here." And you guys, we said, "Oh, we're good friends." We had our arms around each other. Anyway, we're good friends. We're just in here talking to each other. So he said, "Yeah," so it better be that way. So anyhow, he left, and we all said goodbye to each other, and that ended the scrap right there.
Okay, I didn't interrupt you about Mackey. We need to get back on Mackey.
I know, I've got a good story for you.
Okay,
It has to do with pelicans. You know the man who had his pet pelican here not long ago and it hit national news?
yeah.
In Island Moorings, I guess. I read your
Yeah.
paper, so I know which. Well, Mackey had his pet pelican, and he did. The ferry landing used to come in right there in front of Matthews. Matthews' steps came down the front, and right there was the ferry landing. Got me where I'm saying now? Can you go back that
You
far?
bet, yeah.
Okay, right there
I've
was
seen
the
the
ferry
pictures,
landing.
so.
And when it comes in, you know, it chums up the water and the birds come in and feed and what have you, and the pelicans sit right there on the edge of the dock and would dive down and get there. So he had the bright idea one day of catching him, his pet, and so he did. He tied a mullet on a pole and threw it out, and the pelican took the mullet and Mackie reeled him in. And then he painted the front of his wings silver, so it would be his. And from that day forward, we had a pelican sitting on that post every day.
Silver pelican.
Silver one.
Just his wingtips. He didn't do it so he couldn't fly, but he
These
was
are-
always thinking of
Mark-
things to do. Yes, yes, they are.
I'm gonna try to get a close-up shot of these. Are they all identical, pretty much?
Yes.
Oh, you got
Yes.
Richard Bidders in there too.
Oh, I do? Did I put all three of them
Okay.
in there?
Well, I'll just get
Jim's is in there too?
You know, I don't know.
I thought
I
that was
saw
just
Richard.
Mackie.
See Mackie.
Okay, I can't remember what I have.
Okay, and then
I
there's
kinda went to pieces last night, y'all, when I pulled out. a few of
Richard
these
Bitter,
letters.
sure.
Tell you what, it'll do it to you.
Real quick.
It'll do it to you.
I see two for Malcolm Moore.
Okay, and one's Richard.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, I guess everybody probably thought it was a little unfair, you know, to lose someone like that. You know?
Yep.
Well, it was certainly a shock. I was hauling dirt.
Did those have me, not you?